Hey, what's good, everybody? I'd like to welcome you all to a brand new episode of the Boombox Guru. I'm your host, LB, and for today's episode, we're going to be talking about the best hip hop albums by hip hop groups. So, I went into my CD collection and I picked out 5 albums that I think are some of the best hip hop albums by hip hop groups. So, without further ado, let's get into this video. And I'm going to start with the first album that I chose, and that is one of my personal favorites right here, and that is Straight Outta Compton by NWA, released in 1988. A groundbreaking landmark album in hip hop music because, even though Ice-T did it before them, uh, I gotta say that Straight Outta Compton, this album right here is what really kicked down the doors and really brought West Coast hip hop to the forefront, especially Compton. You know, uh, Such a landmark album in the history of hip hop music because not only did it pioneer gangster rap music, and not only was it a record that, if it wasn't for its release, a lot of the stuff that you hear rappers talking about even today, they wouldn't be able to say on their records. Uh, this album created a whole like family tree of West Coast hip hop, man. Like if it wasn't for this record, you probably would have never got Death Row Records. We probably would have never got Snoop Dogg. Uh, you know, Maybe not even like DJ Quick and Compton's Most Wanted. So many family trees were sprouted from the release of Straight Outta Compton, and it just shed a light on Los Angeles because a lot of people didn't know about the gang problem that was going on out there or the police brutality. Most people thought prior to this album that LA was just a place where people went to become movie stars or any other types of entertainers, but they shed a light on South Central and Compton, man. They showed what was really going on in the streets, man. And such a great record, great production from Dr. Dre and DJ Yella, man. I really dug the kind of Bomb Squad inspired production that they did because I remember reading somewhere where Dr. Dre and DJ Yella said that they was highly influenced by the Bomb Squad, what they were doing with Public Enemy, and you can tell that on a lot of the tracks on here, man. I mean, come on, the title track, Straight Outta Compton. You got F the Police, Gangsta Gangsta, Express Yourself, Compton's in the House, Dope Man. So many landmark records on this album, man. And one of the most interesting things about this album is that it was essentially an underground record when it came out. It came out through Ruthless Records / Priority Records. And at the time, Priority Records wasn't a big label like it is now. They were they were pretty much an independent label around this time. But the fact that they sold 1 million copies of this album and went platinum with virtually no airplay or video play because MTV banned the video for Straight Outta Compton. Radio wouldn't play their music because of his graphic depictions of violence and the explicit lyrics. The fact that they was able to just go and become huge and do these huge tours around this time, it's just amazing that they were able to manage to do that feat. And this was back in 1988. This was pre-social media. So just a great record all around, man. It's something that every hip hop head should have in their collection right here. Straight Outta Compton, man. Dope. And definitely check out the movie too. The movie was pretty cool as well. All right, so speaking of the Bomb Squad, my next pick for this video was It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back by Public Enemy, also released in 1988 on Def Jam Recordings, man. I think this is probably my favorite Public Enemy album. This is usually the one that I go for anytime I get on a Public Enemy kick. I always pick this one up, man. It's just a phenomenal record, man. And this is the album that really took Public Enemy to that next level. I would say it was their breakthrough record. But so many landmark songs on here, man, such as Bring the Noise, Don't Believe the Hype, uh, you know, uh, let's see, Night of the Living Bassheads, Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos, Rebel Without a Pause. So many great tracks on here, man. Let's see, She Watched Channel Zero. That song is actually what got me into Slayer. Partly got me into Slayer. What initially got me into Slayer was the fact that they were signed to Def Jam. But when I found out that Public Enemy actually sampled the main riff of Angel with Death on She Watched Channel Zero, I was sold right then and there, man. I'm like, whoa, they're sampling heavy metal or extreme metal, like that's cool. So that was partly what got me really into Slayer. Uh, man, louder than a bomb. Can I get a witness, bro? Man, party for your right to fight. So many great tracks on this record, man. The Bomb Squad's production, phenomenal, man. The whole collage of sounds that they implemented on here, which inspired so many hip hop artists, man. Like I said, it inspired NWA when they were working on Straight Outta Compton. But not only that, it inspired a lot of people outside of hip hop music. Like a lot of metal bands were inspired by what the Bomb Squad did on production. I mean, they a lot of metal bands have tried to emulate that sound with their instruments. You know, Rage Against the Machine being one of the biggest examples, and then industrial metal, industrial music. A lot of those types of acts were inspired by Public Enemy, and Chuck D. You know, his commanding voice, his recognizable voice that just takes over the track every time he comes on and spits those like socially conscious political lyrics, man. You know, his commanding vocal presence, man. And then you got Flavor Flav in the mix that, you know, somewhat as a comedic effect, but one of the greatest hype men ever in a hip hop group. Such a phenomenal record right here. You can't go wrong with It Takes a Nation of Millions to hold us back, man. And easily probably Public Enemy's most accessible album, because this is the one that I see the most in record stores, man. But just one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time, bro. And another album that every hip hop head should have in their collection as well, bro. So definitely, if you don't have It Takes a Nation of Millions in your collection, man, you need to go out and get it, man, because your collection is not complete without this record, man. All right, next album, and we still in 1988 on this one. 1988 was one of the best years for hip hop music, man. But we got Boogie Down Productions, man, By All Means Necessary. And this is the second album by Boogie Down Productions. The first one without Scott LaRock. Of course, you know, he tragically was killed in '87, not long after their first album, Criminal Minded. And because of his death, you know, his untimely death, man, Boogie Down Productions took a different direction because, you know, Criminal Minded was essentially a gangster rap record, man, for most parts, man. I mean, you've seen the album cover with them, with Scott LaRock and KRS-One holding guns on the cover, and then you got the song called 9mm Go Bang and stuff of that nature. It was essentially one of the earliest gangster rap records. But after Scott LaRock's death, man, KRS-One and the rest of the Boogie Down production, man, they decided to go a different direction musically. This is where the group started to get more political and more socially conscious. So essentially, with this album, By All Means Necessary, this is where KRS-One became the teacher. You know, come on, My Philosophy is one of Boogie Down Productions' signature songs. Then you got I'm Still Number One, Part-Time Suckers, which Tupac actually interpolated that song in his first album, was Part-Time Mother. You got Jimmy, which promotes safe sex, because, you know, this was during the height of the whole AIDS epidemic that was happening. Then you got the song Teacher Teacher, which, again, like I said, this album right here is where KRS-One became the teacher, man. You're Slipping. So many great songs on this album. I remember when Time Warner Cable first came out with digital cable, and we had the Music Choice channel. I used to watch those Music Choice channels a lot, and they used to play songs from this album quite a bit. So that's how I really got familiar with a lot of the music on this record. And you can tell that this is a different direction from the album cover, because the album cover is a homage to that famous cover of Malcolm X where he's standing by his window holding that big gun. That's what KRS-One is essentially paying homage to with this album cover. But yeah, man, just a great record, man. I think this is probably my favorite Boogie Down Productions album, because like I said, you know, when I was a kid and I used to watch the Music Choice channels a lot, they played a lot of songs from this album, and that really got me more familiar with the music from this record, man. So definitely another landmark album, man. Hip hop by one of the best all time hip hop groups of all time, right here, man. By All Means Necessary by Boogie Down Productions. All right, so next album right here, man. Now we're in the 90s, man. This is 91 right here, man. And I usually have trouble picking my favorite within this group, because there's two albums of theirs I would consider my favorite, man. But I think I'm gonna go with this one though. Uh, the Low End Theory by a Tribe Called Quest, man. Released in 1991, and I think this year was the 30th anniversary for this record. I've been seeing on Instagram, they've been promoting a lot of merchandise dedicated to Low End Theory and stuff of that nature, man. But yeah, I gotta say that this is my favorite Tribe Called Quest album, man. Reason being is because this is where Phife Dawg really came into the forefront. Because on the previous record, People's Travels, Q-Tip handled most of that, man. Q-Tip did most of the rapping on that record. I think Phife Dawg might have made maybe 2 or 3 appearances on that record, and Jarobi, he added ad libs and stuff like that to certain songs, and of course a lot of those. He came up with a lot of the song ideas as well. And I think he came up with some ideas on this record too, but he left by then, and of course Ali Shaheed Muhammad, man, he just producing and handling the turntables and so forth. But yeah, Phife Dawg came to ascendance on this record, man. And to me, this is what took Tribe to the next level. Because when they dropped that first record, as classic as that first album was, they were still kind of in the shadows of the other Native Tongues members, particularly the Jungle Brothers and De La Soul. But this record set them apart. And actually, when they dropped this album, they became more popular than De La Soul and the Jungle Brothers. And those are the groups that really brought them in. But yeah, they actually surpassed them in popularity. But so many classics on this record, man. I mean, Bugging Out. Let's see here. Show Business featuring Brand Nubian. Check the Rhyme. Jazz We Got. And of course, Scenario. Scenario, one of the greatest posse cuts of all time in hip hop, featuring leaders of the new school, and that standout verse for Busta Rhymes that really took him to the next level and essentially broke up leaders of the new school because everybody wanted Busta and didn't really care about the other members. But such a great record, man. One of the dopest produced albums on here, man. I mean, they really epitomized the Low End Theory on this album, man. That live bass and the live instrumentation that they implemented on this record, man, so great, man. And you can't go wrong with this album. This is a great record from start to finish, man. There's not one song on this album that is whack. It's one of those albums where the further you get into the album, the better it starts sounding, and you hate for it to end. But it's got a really good track listing too. It's got a solid track listing to where you leave feeling satisfied, but you want to play it over and over again as well, man. But such a great record, man. Like I said, the ascendance of Phife Dawg that really took the group to the next level. It really displayed that chemistry and that really cool dynamic between him and Q-Tip. Q-Tip being the kind of laid back, kind of smooth, introspective one, and then Phife Dawg being the more streetwise intellect, if you understand what I'm saying, man. But such a great dynamic, man. And R.I.P. to Phife Dawg, man, because he is greatly missed. And I know they're supposed to be coming out with an album that he was working on before his death. I've been seeing a few things about it on IG, so I'm looking forward to that coming out. But yeah, just a great record, man. Low End Theory. And for my final album for this video, I went with Sons of the P by Digital Underground, also released in 1991. The second album by Digital Underground, and another great record right here. This is one of my favorite. Probably, actually, I think this is my favorite Digital Underground record, man, because they got really funky on this album. Hence the title, Sons of the P. Essentially, this album is a homage to the funk pioneers that influenced them. It's a homage to Parliament Funkadelic. And if you pay attention, man, that's what Digital Underground really did. They brought that P-Funk flavor to hip-hop music, to the hip-hop generation. If you look at the way that they dressed, the whole kind of structure and criteria that they had, it was heavily influenced by P-Funk. The way they used the kind of outer space kind of ideology and blended it in with socially conscious political lyrics, that was highly influenced by P-Funk, man. And they took it to another level with this record, Sons of the P, man. This album, I wouldn't say it's not as radio friendly as Sex Packets, but they did have a big hit with Kiss You Back. Kiss You Back was one of Digital Underground's biggest hits and one of their best known hits. So they did have a huge hit with that. But as far as the rest of the album, it's just real funky, man. And it's, you can tell that they're using like the whole Digital Underground kind of philosophy, and they're blending it in with more socially conscious lyrics and so forth, man. Like one song in particular, like Heartbeat Props, that song is about pretty much giving people your flowers while they're still here. But more specifically, it's about how people should pay attention to, like, at the time, the leaders in the black community that we had, such as like Farrakhan. They talk about Chuck D and stuff of that nature. They're saying, instead of just constantly talking about the ones we had in the past who have unfortunately passed away or who were assassinated, let's give props to the ones that we have right now that's trying to do some things. So it's just a great song, man. I think, who was it? Gold Money is featured on that song. Gold Money is featured on that song. Then No Nose Job, which was also another big hit from this album. I don't think it was as big as Kiss You Back, but it was a hit nonetheless, which a lot of people don't get, that song was actually about being yourself and not changing who you are and selling out. I don't think a lot of people got that. That's what that song was really about. It was about just being proud of who you are, being confident who you are as an individual, and not changing who you are and selling out like a lot of people do. And let's see here. So many great songs here. My favorite song on here is Tales of the Funky, which is actually performed by Shorty B. And man, he was a member of P-Funk, Parliament Funkadelic. He was a member of that band, and he had moved out to Oakland, whatever, and he was now a part of the whole Digital Underground collective. And he actually wrote this song, and I think he did it before he even met the Digital Underground. But when Shock G heard it, he had to have that song, so they put it on the album. And one of the greatest odes to funk music. I mean, he talks about everybody, Ohio Players, of course, P-Funk, the various members like Kid Funkadelic and so forth. He talks about Prince, anybody that was really like had the funk, anybody that was pioneers of the funk, Bootsy Collins. It's just one of the best odes to funk music that I've ever heard in hip hop music, man. So definitely dig that record. Let's see, Family of the Underground, nice posse cut that really showcases the whole extended family of Digital Underground, people from different parts of America and the world. Oh yeah, Good Thing We're Rapping, the song that ends the album. Man. Probably the most hardest song that Digital Underground has ever recorded, man. This is Digital Underground going in pimp mode. Like they reached down and pulled out their inner Too Short on that song, man. And what's so interesting about that particular song is that it's part fiction and part true, because a lot of that stuff that Shock G is rapping, and as well as in his Humpty Hump character, a lot of that stuff was true stories that Shock G really did and really experienced during his younger years. Back in the early '80s, he really was a pimp back in the early '80s and stuff like that, which he's told in interviews. So a lot of that is like a bunch of true stories mixed in with fiction, to give a great story, but a great song nonetheless. Bumping West Coast Bay Area type beat as well, man. But yeah, Sons of the P, man, just a phenomenal album. One that I think often gets overlooked and overshadowed by Sex Packets, because I actually think, as much as I enjoy Sex Packets, man, I actually think that Sons of the P is probably the better record. Because it's just way more kind of rawer and grittier and funkier, man. But enjoy this record so much, man. All right, so that's it for this video. Those are my 5 best hip-hop albums by hip-hop groups for this video. You can't expect more, because I got plenty of more albums that I can talk about. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you can do me a favor, hit the thumbs up, give me a like, helps get my video more exposure. Also, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you'll be notified anytime I drop new content, as well as share the video. Be sure to check out all my other videos on here. I got album reviews, discography breakdowns, tier list, early podcast episodes that I was experimenting. Check those out as well. And if you want to follow me on social media, I have those links in my description. I'm more active on IG, so if you really want to get in touch with me, probably it's best to follow me on IG. And I appreciate everybody that has taken the time out to view my videos. I want to give a shout out to all my new subscribers as well as the old subscribers that have stayed with me. And as always, I hope everybody has a blessed day and a blessed week. And love, peace, and music. Peace out.